If you have splenic inner authority, that is, you are a splenic projector or a splenic manifestor, and you have been trying to understand your inner authority for some time. Maybe you've watched a bunch of videos, maybe you've read a bunch of blog posts, maybe you've even listened to Ra's lectures and you're still confused. Then let's clear this up for you, hey? Now, this video is going to be probably a little bit over your head if you're very new to human design. So if you have found this video because you've typed into YouTube Splenic Projector and it's the very first time you've listened to it, or Splenic Manifestor, you can journey along with this, but you might need to sort of click around or even re-watch some sections a few times. We're going to be talking about the splenic bit specifically. So my intention with this video is that we just clear up some of the misconceptions, boil the theory down into something that's really understandable in real life terms, and help you make better decisions. Because after all, that is what human design is supposed to do. It's supposed to help us make really aligned decisions so you can make your life work better. So let's do that. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Carolyn Southwell. I have been working with human design for more than 10 years, and while I do have a different inner authority to you splenic beings, I have two of my dearest friends have splenic inner authority, and I have lost count of how many different versions of splenic human beings I have served in my coaching practice over the last decade. So what I'm gonna do in this video is take all that theory and fucking simplify the hell out of it, right? So let's do that. So what does it mean to have a splenic authority? Let's just start at the very beginning. It means that you have an undefined solar plexus. So you are not subject to the emotional wave that about 50% of the population is. It means that you have an undefined sacral. So therefore you are not a generator or a manifesting generator. So we're just talking about splenic authority here. Now, while people who have a defined spleen, and even as I have discovered, people who have an undefined spleen will still get splenic hits from time to time, what we're talking about when we say splenic inner authority is that that is how you are designed to make your little, your medium, and your giant decisions. You are designed to make them based on the information from the spleen. The spleen, if you're super new to human design, is the triangle in the bottom left. So if it was on the body, it would be like down here somewhere, right? And if you have splenic authority, it is going to be colored in something other than white. Traditionally, it's colored in brown. Now, if you're a splenic projector or a splenic manifestor, you could have as little as 2 centers defined in your chart, and you could have as many as 7 centers defined, and anywhere in between those two extremes. So it's going to make you very, very different. Projectors and manifestors are already super different. So which centers you have defined is also going to influence how it feels as you make decisions, because unfortunately we have this sort of protocol in human design of saying inner authority is how you're designed to make decisions. But you know what? I have discovered in the last decade that all of the defined centers are going to play a part in how we make decisions. And it means that no 2 splenic projectors I see are ever the same, and no 2 splenic manifestors I see are ever the same. So if you haven't already, I would encourage you to get a firm handle on what each of the defined centers are doing for you and how that might influence your spleen. So we still want to really understand the spleen, but you want to understand it is not an island. You are not just your defined spleen. You are all of the definition in your chart, and all of it is pressing on you in different and interesting and unique ways. But let's come back to the spleen. The spleen's number 1 priority is to keep you alive. It wants to keep you alive today, and ideally, if it can, it'll keep you alive tomorrow and next week and next year and beyond. But it has to do all of that through the present moment. So the keywords that you want to think about for your spleen are intuition and instinct. People often use these terms interchangeably. The conclusion I have come to is instinct is my spleen right now is what does my instinct tell me now about staying safe. Intuition is more subtle. It's like, oh, if I want to move you towards even greater health, even greater vitality into the future, here's a like whisper of what's to come. Now, whether it's your instinct or your intuition, it's very animal in its nature. So if you think of yourself as an animal, not this higher spiritual being, but you just think of yourself as an animal and think about the senses that your body has. You can see, you can hear, you can smell, you can touch, You might know things and you might sense things. Okay, more keywords. Now, depending on the gates, and in your case, at least one channel that are defined in your spleen will indicate whether or not you're a person who is going to get intuitive or instinctive hits through smell or sound, or through your visual, like internally or externally. In my case, I will often know things and I will often sense things, but I rarely smell things. Now, you can go through and study either with me or online on your own. Go and find all the information for all of the gates and look at which of the human senses, the animal senses, is played out in your defined gates. And you'll know, oh, I'm a person who should really pay attention if something tastes bad. That's my spleen telling me, don't eat that. Don't eat that food. Don't eat that information. Maybe don't eat that person's energy, right? And even if you don't have the time, energy, money, etc., to be able to dig in and understand all your gates, what they all have in common is this very animal nature. They will show up for you very, very quickly, and then they'll be gone. The way my first human design teacher taught me is the spleen whispers to you and then it's gone. Now, that of course wasn't enough information, but it's a good start. The spleen will whisper through taste or smell or touch or hearing or visuals, or however it is for you. It will come to you and then it'll be gone. It's very, very quick. And the spleen demands that you make decisions very, very quick, that you move your body the way your body is asking you to move. It's very body-based. And we're going to talk about the challenge that we have with body and mind as we go on in this video. When you have these instinctive, intuitive hits, it's not going to come with an explanation. This is not mental. When you have this knowing that you should turn left at this set of lights when you were planning to turn right, there will be no logical explanation coming forth from your spleen to go, oh yes, you should turn left because you're going to like pass your favorite cafe that you forgot about, and your friend who you haven't seen in 10 years is going to be out the front and you're going to have time to stop and have a chat with them. The spleen doesn't tell you that. The spleen doesn't tell you anything. It just gives you a hit and you have to decide. This is where you have a choice. You have to decide whether you're going to honor what your spleen is telling you or not. So very animal. Happens very, very quickly. And you have to act straight away or not. That bit's up to you. There's no logical information. There's no language. There's no way to explain to someone else. So this is one of the other challenging things for splenic beings, is there's no information that you can give to somebody else to explain logically why you need to go this way instead of this way. In order to be able to live out your splenic inner authority, not only do you have to be in your body enough to be able to pick up on those whispers, but you need to be in relationships with people who don't tell you, oh, you should sleep on it for a few days. They're probably emotional beings. Or you should write a pros and cons list, or you should think about that. Nope. You want to tell them, hey, I'm designed to make very fast decisions. I need to be able to make spontaneous decisions. And if that's not okay with you, then maybe it's not actually safe for you to be in a relationship with that person. And I know that might be hard to hear because it might challenge any number of relationships that you're in, but only 10% of the population are designed to move this quickly. And our society doesn't really know what to do with splenic beings because they want a logical explanation for things, and you don't have a logical explanation. At the time, you need to be able to be in a relationship with somebody who, when you says, oh, I just get this gut feeling that we shouldn't go into that restaurant. Okay, great. So your partner or your friend or whoever you're with needs to honor what your body is signaling to you, that is not a safe or healthy place for you to be. Now, I did used to think that because I had an undefined spleen, that I would not have an embodied understanding of this. But what I started to realize is the spleen's talking to us all the time. So the way it happens for me with my hanging gates on my spleen, and I can so let me give you a felt sense in the body, is I'll be going for a bushwalk and I will notice that my partner and I had a plan to take this track, and I sense that my body wants to pull me this way. And thankfully, my partner just, as long as we're out for the amount of time we want to go, then he doesn't really care where we walk. And I go, oh, you know what, hun? We got to go this way. He doesn't question me. We just walk that way. Every single time there will be some cool animal. There will be wallabies, there will be a goanna, there will be something beautiful that we would have missed if I hadn't trusted my spleen. A puppy dog that I could pat, right? So this is the way that the spleen works. If I didn't honor it in the moment, then the impulse would have been gone and I would have missed that opportunity. And if I had a partner who was like, why? Why do you want to go that way? I couldn't explain it. All I have is this sense that, like this invisible thread almost, that my body is getting drawn that way. So I just honor it, right? So that depending on how your spleen is wired, you might also have that sense of being pulled. Ra used to tell a story that are in some of his lectures when he would talk about, as a splenic manifestor, how he usually did not wear a seatbelt, right? When he was on back streets. And one particular day, this is the way the language he used. I found myself putting on my seatbelt and I kind of watched my body doing this. And I just observed that that's what my body was doing, right? Later on, on that same trip in the car, somebody ran into the back of the car. His spleen knew, I need to put my seatbelt on now in order to protect my body, however many miles down the road it was. So this is what the spleen will do. It's like the spleen is tapped into this invisible network of information of your closest surroundings and your environment out as far as it needs to in order to keep you safe. And it's going to give you these hits of like, this is what you need to do to stay alive, to stay safe, to stay healthy now and an hour from now, a day from now, a week from now, a year from now. But it tells you right now. And it means you have to be able to be in your body right now. And so this is one of the most important things that I want to say is now that you've got a sense of the theory of all of the different ways that this information can come in for you, is that just because somebody who has splenic inner authority or even a text that you might have read on human design makes it sound really easy to follow your inner authority. Oh, just listen to your body, listen to the cues it gives you, listen to the signals and just, like take action immediately. Spontaneous knowing, just do what you immediately feel to do, right? It might sound easy in theory, but so many splenic beings find it hard to do in real life. And that is because we have been so conditioned to be up in our head, to think and make decisions from the mind, but also so many people, maybe you have lived through experiences that have caused the body to feel really unsafe. Anything that causes the body to feel unsafe, whether it's just you're a 3-year-old and you want to cry and you just want to cuddle from mum and you don't get it, or all the way through to horrific abuse. Any of these things can cause us to want to come out of our body because our body feels very overwhelming. And the tendency is to come up into the mind because the mind feels safer. And what I found is that the splenic projectors and splenic manifestors that I have worked with who really struggle and are learning all of the theory and are like, this person says the spleen never says yes. This person says the spleen is unknowing. This person, and they're taking in all the theory. They're lost up here because they don't have an embodied sense of it because the body doesn't feel safe to be in. So I want you to know if that's your experience, there's nothing wrong with that. There is no shame in the fact that you are up in your mind and not able to get into your body. Is it a problem? Yes, it is a problem. It's a problem that it needs resolving. But it's not your fault that you're not in your body. If you've been struggling to understand the theory up to this point, please know you're not doing anything wrong. And it doesn't matter how much you study the theory, if you can't come down into your body to have a felt sense of what it feels like when the spleen goes, whoop, this way, no, yes. If you don't have a felt experience of that, then it doesn't matter how much theory you learn, the theory's never going to make sense for you until you can have a lived experience of it for yourself. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say here. before we wrap up. Just because you may have been through traumatic experiences doesn't mean you'll never be able to hear your spleen. And I think of one of my closest friends who is a splenic projector who I've known for many years, and she is a mindfulness teacher. Side note, so many splenic beings I have met are either meditation teachers, mindfulness teachers. They have some sort of meditation or mindfulness practice as a really committed student that is body-based, that helps them get reconnected with their body so that they can tell when their gut says do this, do this, do this, do this, or don't do this, yes to this person, no to this person, that they can tell, right? And what I have noticed that my friend does is has become hyper aware of when her mind is hijacking, and to get her mind to take a seat so that she can come back into her body and feel, I'm supposed to go this way, I'm not supposed to go that way, whatever the case may be. So you can make a lot of progress if you haven't already got some sort of body-based mindfulness process to help you get reconnected with your body. And it just takes a little bit more work. It's just a bit more of a push-pull. But my friend is a very good example of how you can have experienced quite a lot of trauma, because her childhood was pretty challenging, but still be able to make really good decisions with your spleen. So the things that can help you slowly journey back into your body and reconnect with your spleen are a mindfulness practice, more so I feel than a meditation practice, because often meditation practices will just pull us more up into the mental and spiritual realms, in spiritual bodies, right? We want something that's going to slowly, gently, carefully bring you back into your body in a really titrated way. So drop by drop by drop, tiny step, tiny step, tiny step, because there's a lot that's happening in the body and it might be overwhelming for you, right? So coming down slowly into the body again and learning to get reacquainted with your body, and for you, your animal gut sense, right? It's really low in the body as I put my hands on my belly, right? It's really low in the body. So some sort of mindfulness practice that has you reconnecting with your body and your body in connection with the environment, right? With the environment around you. One of the ways I do this work with my clients is through tapping. So we can use trauma-informed tapping in a way that works for splenic beings, which is different than the way I do it with emotional beings and sacral beings. So we can take the same tool and make it work really well for you as a splenic being. And it means we focus more on the sensations in the body, more so than the emotions, because splenic beings are more connected with their animal sensations. And so that's the way we journey in. So if you want more information about any of the things that I've talked about, I'll put some useful things on screen, and I'll put links to everything that I've talked about in the video description. If this video was helpful for you, please feel free to share it with any other splenic beings you know. And do you want to tell me in the comments, what was the one thing in this video that you found most helpful? I would love to know.